Excuse the interruption while we bring you this update. The New York Mets have a new pitcher. The team signed four-time All-Star right-hander Dellin Betances in a $10.4 million deal last week. Betances and team officials are at Citi Field right now. Let's listen in.
Good morning. Dellin Betances. He's one of the most accomplished and dominant relief pitchers in Major League Baseball. As you'll see here in a couple of minutes, he's an imposing figure. He's got size, he's got strength, and he's got swagger when he takes the mound. His power stuff can overmatch and overpower, and ultimately he can intimidate his opposing hitters. In short, he's everything we want here at the New York Mets. I want to take a couple minutes here to talk about our signing process. In part because I think it demonstrates and illustrates that three things can be a good recipe for success: persistence, collaboration, and creativity. When those three things are combined with a group of motivated people, good things can happen. This process started way back in November. Jim Murray, Michael Stovall, two of Dellin Betances' agents, were out in Arizona. They met with us. What was clear there is that we were interested in Dellin, but that Dellin had many interested teams. Jim expressed at that point in time that this process was not going to be a fast one. They were going to evaluate the market, they were going to provide all the information to Dellin, and ultimately Dellin would make a decision after he narrowed the focus on teams. Since they weren't in a rush, we needed to go through the rest of our offseason priorities. We focused our attention on starting pitching. When we got to the winter meetings, we focused, as you all know now, on Michael Wacha and Rick Porcello. We felt that both of those pitchers added depth to our starting rotation and ceiling of accomplished elite caliber players. We again met with Jim Murray and Stovall at the winter meetings, ironically, because they also represented Rick Porcello. But throughout those negotiations with Rick, even at that point in time, we remained skeptical that we would ultimately be standing here today. Dellin had so many options and uncertain, and the free agency market is so uncertain that it's always hard to know who's going to be the last team standing. So we packed our bags, we moved back to Citi Field here, and the leadership group in the baseball operations department bunkered in, huddled down, and ultimately talked about where we would go from here the rest of the offseason. As we went through the considerations, one name kept popping up: Dellin, Dellin, Dellin. So we knew coming out of that meeting that we had to make one final pitch. We had to make one final pursuit to see if we could somehow be the winning bid within the Dellin sweepstakes. What that did was it launched a 4-day period of time of an intense process. Carlos Beltran, Jeremy Hefner, our new pitching coach, Robinson Cano, Jeff Wilpon, our COO, and even Jared Faust, one of our R&D analysts, all made calls and presentations to Dellin and to the Jim Murray team to try to ultimately make a pitch on why we were the right team and why this was the best opportunity for Dellin going forward. Simultaneously, Jeff, David Cohen, our EVP and in-house general counsel, and I bunkered down and had a lockdown 72-hour session of brainstorming ideas, effectively trying to come up with one way to walk out of this situation with Dellin. Deal structures were complicated, but ultimately we needed to find a way that met all parties' interests. That's a normal process for us inside the Mets organization. David, Jeff, and I are always sitting down, reviewing proposals, and ultimately presenting them. But this went above and beyond the call of duty, given the unique deal structure that we laid out. Ultimately, Jim and Michael Stovall invited us to their offices in Midtown to meet with Dellin. It was an opportunity for us to sit face to face. At that meeting, we continued to reiterate our sincere interest, but it was really a two-way conversation. And the highlights of that conversation were three things. We listened to Dellin, and he communicated the following. He wanted to be fairly compensated. Naturally, he wanted to be fairly compensated. He wanted to dominate, and he wanted to win. Most players want to be treated fairly from a financial standpoint. Dominate was an interesting word because he didn't want to just reestablish his health. He didn't want to just go out and perform his normal job. He wanted to dominate, and he expressed that very clearly. And lastly, he wanted to apply that dominance to a winning culture and a winning environment. We were fortunate to be able to sell him on our winning environment to the point where, after our meeting, Jim, Stivall, Dellin all left the room. They left me sequestered in a conference room for about 45 minutes all by myself. When Jim and Stivall came back, they gave a very clear expression. Dellin wanted to be with the New York Mets. And at that point, it was our task, the team of negotiators at that point in time, to figure a way out. The only failure at this point was if we couldn't make a deal. And that's what we did. 7 hours, probably half a dozen breakout sessions later, FaceTime calls, different deal structures. Ultimately, we had a handshake, and on Christmas Eve, Dellin became a member of the New York Mets. I've talked many times this offseason and in the past that our goal is to increase the floor of our projected win total. This signing is different. This signing was intended to blow the cover off of our ceiling. We believe that a healthy and dominant Dellin, combined with Edwin Diaz and Seth Lugo and Justin Wilson, Jerry's Familia, Brad Brock, Robert Gesellman, this collective group has the potential to be one of the best bullpens in baseball. And we're excited to get them all together down in Florida here in almost a month from now. At the end of the day, everybody should remember Dellin is New York born. Dellin is New York made. And today, Dellin's a member of the New York Mets. I'd like to now welcome Jeff up to the stage. We'll do a jersey presentation, and then Dellin, you can join us.
Thank you.
I'll give you this. I'll give you the hat. Hey.
Congratulations.
All right.
It's not the medium.
Yeah.
No, definitely fit.
And you got the right order.
Yeah.
Step to your left, and we'll do a photo op when you get a couple done there, Dellin.
All right, cool. That's good.
Nice. Good. Everybody okay? Good. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brodie, just stay there. Dellin, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Brodie. I appreciate all those kind words. This day brings a lot of excitement. Obviously, I want to wish everybody here a Happy New Year's, and thank you for coming. I hope I didn't cut you guys' vacation a little short. So, this past week and a half has brought a lot of excitement to myself and my family. Christmas, in fact, came a little bit early as we celebrated our signing with the New York Mets. Definitely a lot of things that I'm excited about. I've heard a lot of great things about the organization from Brodie, a lot of the staff that I've spoke to. I'm excited to meet a bunch of the staff members of the Mets, a lot of the players as well. I've spoke to over the phone, Robertson Cano, Familia, a lot of the guys I know that I've played with, Justin Wilson. Told me a lot of great things, and Stroman I got the chance to speak to, so I'm definitely excited. I feel like I'm already at home. I know a bunch of the players, so I think that transition will be easy for me. And, I'm just excited to start expand my career here in New York with the Mets. I have a bunch of people I want to thank, and I want to thank my family, big group that came to support me today. I love all you guys. I want to thank my wife for always being there for me, supporting me, and, obviously bringing our biggest joy, Dellin J, to our lives. I want to thank Mr. Fred Wilpon, Jeff, and the rest of the Wilpon family for welcoming me to you guys' family. This is truly an honor for me, and I'm going to represent this team as best as I can with high class, and I'm gonna give you guys my all. Believe that. I want to thank Jim, Stiv, Juliet, the rest of the Excel family, Jim, Stiv, and Brodie for spending all that time and trying to find a way. Also, David Cohen to make this deal come true. I know there was a lot of different things that they had to go through to make everything right, and I thank you guys for that day, the 23rd. I remember I was in the office for a while, and going back and forth. We were negotiating. Brodie presenting his presentation and how excited he is about the Mets, and then we kind of threw our pitch. I went home, practiced, came back, and we got the deal done. So I'm definitely excited. I think there's this 2020 team is something that a lot of these fans need to be excited about. Obviously, just from watching them from across the way, I think they had one of the better records in the second half, and I'm just honored and to be a part of this 2020 season. I think there's a lot of excitement and buzz, and I can't wait to meet a bunch of the guys to start this new journey. And my goal is to win, and I'm gonna do the best I can to win. As I've said in my social media posts, New York is in my blood. I grew up playing in the Lower East Side. I went to high school in Brooklyn. In 2007, I played minor league ball in Staten Island. In 2011, I made my major league debut in the Bronx, and now I stand here, getting the chance to wear this Mets uniform and playing in Queens. So thank you guys for everything. I'll open up for questions or whatever else we have.
Thank you, Dellin. So for all of our audiences watching at home on social media, please, there's mics on each side of the room. When you are called upon, state your name, your affiliation, prior to your question for either Dellin or Brodie. So, Steve, in the back right.
Steve Gelbs, SNY. Dellin, you speak about the guys on this team that that you spoke with about this particular team. What were some of the things that they said that really helped to sell you on coming to the Mets?
Well, one of the things that speaking to Cano, he spoke very highly on Brodie, and he felt like ever since he came in, he's tried to bring the right group of guys and bring the right group, the ownership, bring the right group of team to make this work. Because I think you need a full team to be as well prepared as you can, and I think Cano spoke very highly. Obviously, the second half, as well as the team performed. And I think, if you look at our rotation, we have probably one of the better rotations in the big leagues. And, I think our job as the bullpen, myself included, is to do the best we can and make sure we hold those leads, or even if we're down by one. I think the biggest thing as a bullpen is try to make sure that we keep that score the same way as best as we can. And if we do that, I think we'll win a lot of ball games in 2020.
En NatalieLasMayores.com, felicidades. Tuviste la oportunidad de jugar con Carlos, ahora lo vas a tener como manager. ¿Qué significa eso para ti?
Muchas gracias. Para mí es un honor. Beltrán es alguien que yo conocí en el 2015 y 2014 o 15, y es uno de los peloteros más intelectual y siempre quiere ayudar a los peloteros. So va a ser un placer para mí jugar para él.
Tina Stravasio, Fox 5. Congratulations, Dellin. Brodie talked about when talks initiated in November, so many other teams were involved. How much thought did you have to give to leaving New York to continue your career? And then what was the emotion when you knew you would be staying in New York and obviously with your family?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think me and my wife were kind of looking at this as, we have the chance of, play in another city, something we've never done. I feel like, we've been spoiled throughout our career, and we were just talking about what other players do and them playing away from home. But I think the Mets were always engaged, and Carlos was always kind of steering me to come to this team. He just feels like this team is ready to take that next step, and I think as the talks kept going and closer to Christmas, things got really hot. I was definitely excited to stay home. I think the rest of my family were excited, so I think it worked out perfect.
Betances, felicidades. Piensa que a pesar de que Cano ayudó para que te firmaran aquí, pero como fanático de Nueva York, incluyó mucho eso, tú quedarte con este equipo de Queens y además tener tu familia aquí apoyándote, que es lo que estaba buscando.
Bueno, claro que conociendo a Carlos, conociendo a Cano, ellos tuvieron mucha influencia. Nosotros, la familia, donde sea que yo juegue, ellos van a apoyarme, pero claro que aquí en casa tengo mucho la fanaticada y ellos pueden venir a los juegos más frecuentes, so esa decisión me ayudó.
Hey, Dellin, Scott O'Jara, AP. You mentioned Carlos steering you in this direction. How much of a factor was it just to be able to play for him, knowing the relationship that you guys have had?
Well, I know that Beltran is somebody that I got the chance to play with, and he's probably one of the players that I would say is just hungry for baseball. Like, he's just hungry for information, and any way he can help your team, for me being a teammate, any way he can help you, he tried to do the best job that he could. And obviously him being the manager here definitely helped out. I know how much a lot of the players are going to be excited to play for a guy like that, future Hall of Famer. That there's not many guys you can say that about, and he's going to lead the charge. So I'm definitely excited to play for him.
Dellin, congratulations. Andy Esposito, New York Sports Day. How would you evaluate your health status at this point and recovering from the various injuries?
Well, under this offseason, Hospital for Special Surgeries, I've been under their watch this whole time, and Dr. David Olczyk, which is a doctor for the Mets, and Terrence, one of the PTs that helps out as well. I've been under their surveillance, so I kind of felt like this timing is perfect. They've helped me out tremendously. Also, Dr. O'Malley is a guy that, he told me, I didn't need the surgery at the time, and I feel good at this point. I'm pretty much, I'll be ready to go in spring training, and that's the important part.
Last question, Bruce.
Bruce Beck, WNBC TV. Welcome, Dellin.
Thank you.
What do you look at as far as your role is concerned? Do you see yourself as a setup man? Do you see yourself possibly in a closer role? Would you embrace either one?
For me, all I care about is winning. I think you know me by now, so whatever role the staff envisions me in, all I want to do is do my job. I know that we have Edwin Diaz that is a tremendous closer, and obviously for me, all I want to do is whatever they see me in, I want to do what I can to help the team win. If that's coming in early, if that's coming in late, handing the ball to Diaz, I'll try to do the best job I can. And, all I care about is winning, so that's what I want to do.
Good. Thank you very much, Dellin. Thank you, everybody. Right now, we're going to do...
We've been watching a news conference held by the amazing Mets. The team just signed all-star pitcher Dellin Betances to a $10.4 million deal. A short time ago, the New York native suited up in his new Mets jersey and said it's been an exciting week. Christmas came early as he celebrated signing with the team. Mets leadership described Betances as one of the most accomplished and dominant relief pitchers in Major League Baseball, saying he has size, strength, and swagger when he takes the mound. Today saying, quote, he's everything we want here at the New York Mets, and, quote, this signing is intended to blow the cover off our ceiling. Now, some fans might be wondering when he'll be ready to hit the field. Betances partially tore his Achilles tendon while playing for the Yankees back in September. But the Mets say they expect him to be fully recovered and be ready to play by the spring. And Betances says all he cares about is winning. Right now, we're taking a quick break. We'll be right back.